Todd Boehly's takeover of Chelsea has ruined the club. Roman Abramovich would never have let this happen. But is this actually true, or is Boehly building a project which will far surpass what Abramovich achieved at Chelsea? Since Boehly acquired Chelsea, the club have been in the trenches. Pundits have blamed the new ownership for the poor results. The owners have spent billions, but Chelsea still aren't where they want to be. But is what the media portrays about Chelsea true? Are the owners really clueless and running the club badly? In this video, we'll delve into why the Chelsea takeover is a blessing in disguise and came at the perfect time for the club. We'll look into the man who's the face of the project and analyse the changes the new owners are making. In February 2022, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Chelsea were put up for sale by their owner, Roman Abramovich. He was sanctioned by the UK government for his close links to Vladimir Putin, ending 19 years in charge of Chelsea, where the club won every major trophy available. Chelsea fans were disappointed and worried. All they had known was success under Abramovich. He always invested into the club, and they had just won the second Champions League the year before, so everything was going well at Chelsea, right? Well, that's not true. Chelsea were in decline both on and off the field. Chelsea were operating at a loss for 14 of the 19 seasons under Abramovich. Luckily, he always funded and invested into the club, so Chelsea was still able to spend and compete. Abramovich invested $451 million of his own money into the club in his last 5 years. The next most by an owner in the league was Stan Kroenke at Arsenal, who invested $260 million. Chelsea fell behind every other top 6 club in terms of their stadium, which was never upgraded. They also had one of the highest wage bills in the entire league, and the problem with that is at the time of the sale, Chelsea had not challenged for the league for 5 seasons. Even on the sporting aspect, there were a lot of mistakes from the club. The recruitment had been poor. As a fan, it was frustrating how clubs like Man City and Brighton were able to constantly find good young players for cheap, such as Julian Alvarez, McAllister, Mitoma, or Moises Caicedo. The club made a lot of bad signings. They would put these players on big wages, which then made it difficult to sell them on. A prime example is Lukaku, who has had to be loaned out multiple times as no club is willing to pay his asking price. Other examples include Malang Sarr, Kepa, Bakayoko and Danny Drinkwater. The club lacked stability with the constant changing of managers, which meant there was never a real project and the club was wasting money paying off the contracts for the managers they'd sacked. Chelsea were always one of the highest revenue generating clubs under Abramovich, but they were mismanaged financially. They also won the most trophies of any club in England during the 2 decades Abramovich was in charge, including the second Champions League the year before the takeover. Although these are all great achievements, this papered over the cracks on the field and behind the scenes. Chelsea were being held back and in decline under Abramovich's ownership. In many ways they had underachieved during his time, especially when you consider how it started. Boehly attempted to buy Chelsea in 2019, but this was turned down by Abramovich. This shows that buying the club was not an impulsive decision, something that he had considered for a while. That's why when the opportunity came, he always seemed to be one step ahead. He's been one of the most hated and laughed at figures in football since he bought Chelsea.
Boehly's had a nightmare. So chaotic. It's been a mess from day one.
There's only one person to blame for this, and that's Boehly.
What they fail to realise is that Boehly is a man who's succeeded at almost everything he's attempted in business. Having worked in sports before, Boehly was well aware of the possibility of failure.
And I think it's also very humbling when you do everything right and you still don't win.
But he's experienced and understands the process it takes to succeed. For us to gain a better understanding of the man, we must first look into the background before buying Chelsea. Boehly is an American businessman and investor. Despite claiming he wasn't the best student, he was definitely an intelligent individual. Attending the second oldest school in the US after Harvard, he was always a competitor and was part of his high school wrestling team, winning the state championships in 1990 and 1991. The facilities are even named after him today. He also competed in American football and baseball. His interest for football in the UK started when he attended the London School of Economics, also attending Citibank, where he started his finance career. He set up his investment firm Eldridge Industries in 2015, which manages a portfolio of businesses from sports media, real estate and hospitality. In 2012, Boehly and other investors acquired the LA Dodgers for $2.15 billion. They went from being one of the most mismanaged and underperforming teams in the league to one of the most well-run.
When he bought the Dodgers in professional baseball, the Dodgers had really they'd atrophied, and now they're perennial playoff contenders. They're constantly in the conversation for the World Series.
The relationship with the fans was repaired, and the Dodgers won their first World Series in 32 years. They've also made the playoffs for the past 9 seasons. What's interesting about Boehly is his passion for managing sports teams.
Why do you want to be involved as an investor?
Because it's intellectually stimulating.
Not many owners have mentioned how much they enjoy the intellectual challenge of running a club. As a competitor and former athlete, Boehly enjoys this and is genuinely looking to win. I looked into the advice that Dodgers fans would give to the Chelsea fans following the takeover by Boehly. The dominant opinion was to brace for success and investment. Most Dodgers fans expect Chelsea to be successful under Boehly from what they've witnessed in baseball. The owners made significant changes straight away. The large amount of change confused the fans and media. He resorted to criticising the owners and accusing them of not knowing what they were doing. Boehly had a clear plan of the changes he needed to make in order for the club to run smoothly and become self-sustaining.
You ultimately start, you figure it out, you put the right people in place, you build the right foundation, and you then let it run. And you can't tinker every day.
Bruce Buck, Marina Granovskaya and Petacek all left. On the outside it appeared that they were sacked by the new ownership.
And he needed somehow to try and keep the footballing department together. I mean, he's got rid of the football department. Petacek's left, Marina Granovskaya's left.
This wasn't true. Boehly had a plan to put a new recruitment structure in place, but both Petacek and Bruce Buck stepped down from their positions. Marina was the chief executive at Chelsea and a close friend of Roman Abramovich. She ran the club on his behalf and oversaw everything. Her close relationship to the former owner would have caused backlash if Boehly kept her at the club, so it was justified to let her go. Although they may have taken it too far with the sacking of the head physio and the groundsman, Boehly and his group have done a great job to restructure the recruitment team and assemble some of the best scouts and sporting directors.
Yeah, we're not expecting to be the football experts to find the best talent. We're going to put those people in place.
And Stanley came from Brighton, where he worked for 8 years, firstly as a talent identification manager and then as head of recruitment. Warren Stewart was brought over from AS Monaco and also worked for the Red Bull Football Group, which the owners liked because he has experience working in a multi-club model which they want to implement at Chelsea. What you notice is the people brought in have experience working in multi-club models or within a data-driven approach. Joe Shields has experience at Southampton and Man City, two clubs known for their great scouting. He was key to bringing Romeo Lavia and Cole Palmer to the club this summer. Kyle McCauley worked with Graham Potter at Brighton and helped bring players like Caicedo and Mitoma to the Premier League. The owners were surprised by the lack of data that was used by the previous group. By implementing a strong recruitment structure that collaborates well and uses a data-driven approach, the club can guarantee continued success as they will always bring in young talented players. This is more important than any transfer the club can make because this approach allows the club to spot good players before they're superstars and therefore they won't need to pay crazy amounts later on. This will create sustainability for the club. This model is used by clubs with less money such as Brighton, Benfica, Ajax and Southampton, but with the wealth of Chelsea, success can be achieved on an even bigger scale. In June 2023, Chelsea's ownership group, Blueco, purchased RC Strasbourg. Boehly spoke of the benefits of a multi-club model in the past.
Our goal is to make sure we can show pathways for our young superstars to get onto the Chelsea pitch while getting them real game time.
This will allow Chelsea to reach the next level. They can develop their players at a club they own and keep a closer eye when they are on loan. Despite Chelsea having one of the best academies, the pathway is usually blocked by star players and the young players don't get a chance to show their ability. This strategy gives players a platform and this also gives the club easier access to emerging talent. They will have first access to any player at Strasbourg. This will also motivate the players at Strasbourg to perform well as they know Chelsea are watching. This model is beneficial in England where Brexit has created restrictions on the amount of young players any club can buy from abroad. This is a strategy that is also used by Man City, Brighton and the Red Bull Group, with the City Group actually having a portfolio of 13 clubs globally. From a football purity standpoint, it can be debated whether this should be allowed in football. Although Blueco have invested heavily in Strasbourg, with the club spending more this summer than in their history, many of their fans aren't happy with this. The concept of a multi-club can create a perception that their club is only a farm team that's there to service another club. Another concern is the restrictions that come with competing in European competition but being owned by the same owners. Contrary to what many believe, despite the long contracts, Chelsea aren't offering high wages. Boehly has cut the average wage to under 75k a week, and there's less discrepancy in how much each player is earning. Players are also on incentivized contracts with performance bonuses, which means the best performing players will earn the most money. If performances drop, the wages will also decrease. For example, wages are cut when the club doesn't make Champions League or targets aren't met. In the first window, Boehly appointed himself as acting sporting director, to the bemusement of the football world. The truth is, he didn't have many other choices. The takeover happened quickly and the transfer window was fast approaching, which meant he either had to put together a new recruitment team in a couple of weeks or or risk one transfer window. He chose to risk one transfer window, which was the correct choice. Rushing the recruitment team would have had far more repercussions than one transfer window. The recruitment team would define how well the club would buy and sell for the next 5 to 10 years. Whereas if a player fails, they can be sold the next season and you could recoup some value, as we saw with some of Boehly's signings that failed, such as Clearlake and Abramovic. Boehly was very innovative, disrupted the European transfer market since he bought Chelsea, to the point where UEFA have had to change the rules. He wanted to fast track the transition process at Chelsea with the plan to buy the best young players in the world, but in order to buy them all over 2 or 3 windows rather than multiple seasons, he found a loophole, which meant the club wouldn't need to pay the majority of the transfer fee all at once. By offering long contracts over 7 or 8 years, the club could spread the cost of the transfer. This is called amortization. For example, a £100 million fee could be amortized as £13.33 million per year for 7.5 years. The benefits is it allows clubs to spread the cost of the transfer fee over the length of a player's contract to help balance the books for FFP. It allows the clubs to retain the player's value for longer, meaning that if they do well and are 4 years into their contracts, they can sell that player for a high fee and possibly make a profit, rather than the player leaving for free if they were on a standard 4 or 5 year deal. However, the risk is if a player doesn't perform and has a long contract, they become a liability to the club. They'll be hard to sell and they may refuse to find another club, but Chelsea would still need to pay them even if they aren't playing. There's been a misconception that Chelsea have been aimlessly spending money without a plan. This is far from the truth. There's a clear plan in place that is different from anything ever attempted.
He's not looking at like 3, 6, 9 month increments. He's looking at like decades of ownership. And
the new recruitment team have already brought in amazing young players who may end up being some of the best in the world.
I mean, the type of investment they've made in the academies, the type of investment they've made in scouting, the type of investment they've made in understanding the value of players, it's remarkable.
For example, Kendry Páez will be joining Chelsea in 2025 when he turns 18. He's currently only 16 years old and already playing for Ecuador and is the youngest scorer in South American qualifiers history. Chelsea made $435 million in revenue during Roman Abramovich's last season. In their short time at Chelsea, the new owners have already decreased operating costs by $81 million and made $500 million from player sales. There are 3 main ways in which the club could increase revenue: through matchday revenue, broadcast revenue and commercial revenue. In terms of matchday revenue, the owners have agreed to build a new stadium or to renovate Stamford Bridge. But just like under Abramovich, they found that it's very difficult due to the stadium's location and difficulty building around Stamford Bridge. However, if they're able to increase the size of the bridge, this would massively increase the matchday revenue. For comparison, Arsenal made $108 million from matchday revenue last season. Chelsea only made $80 million. If Chelsea can get this stadium to a minimum of 60,000, they would be able to compete with their rivals and massively increase revenue. As we can see, there's a lot that Chelsea's owners are doing which isn't portrayed in the media. Yes, there's been poor results, but it's very lazy analysis that I see from pundits, the media and fans who say that Chelsea are poorly run. They're looking at the results from a short-term basis, yet haven't looked deeper into what the owners are attempting and the steps they are taking to improve the club. Boehly being an American owner and buying one of the most hated clubs was always going to make him an easy target if he wasn't successful straight away. Roman Abramovich needs to be appreciated for all he's done for the club, but although Chelsea were successful under him, this doesn't mean that they were well run. The club wasn't sustainable without him and was regressing despite the trophies. Chelsea have had bad results under Boehly so far, but it doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. As we can see, he's putting together a structure that will allow the club to be more self-sustainable. Through the use of a multi-club model, data and a great recruitment team, Chelsea will be able to find emergent talent for years to come. Building a new stadium will also take Chelsea to the next level, and Boehly as the face of the project has been criticised for the large amounts spent by the club, as this hasn't brought instant success, but the intention was to build a team that could compete in the present but dominate in the future. Only time will tell how successful this will turn out to be, but I can pretty much guarantee Chelsea will be back competing for major trophies in the near future, and the critics will have to accept that they were wrong. Don't be surprised if Boehly's era at Chelsea turns out to be more successful than Roman's. Thanks for watching, guys. This is a video I've been meaning to make for a while, and I'll be interested to know what other fans think, so please leave a like and a comment on your thoughts on this topic and subscribe if you enjoyed.